All right, everybody. Progress Texas Live. Podcasting Director Chris Mosier here.
Executive Director Kathleen Thompson.
Digital Director Sam Gonzalez here.
And Reagan Stone, Advocacy Manager.
We are coming to you not live. We have been live for the last couple hours from the historic LBJ Ranch, the Texas Progressive Caucus, and their candidates forum for the Texas Democratic Party chair. Great conversation. I really enjoyed the conversation. We had 5 candidates here. Real quick around the horn. Reagan, general impressions, themes that came up, things that you're interested in, priorities that you think were hit.
You know, it was extremely lively, and I got to say that it was fantastically ran by the Texas Progressive Caucus. The amount of engagement that was here, including folks being able to yell from the audience, I think it's important. You know, a lot of these folks might not have a stake in the game, or rather they have a huge stake in the game, but not a vote, but they're extremely worried about where the party is right now and really engaged on where it's going to be going in the future.
Very, very good. Sam, impressions, things that came up during the conversation that floated your boat.
Well, there was an overwhelming idea of starting from the ground up, and I like the idea of getting back to basics. I think in our time, we've overcomplicated a lot of things, and there's a lot of things from our history that work. So I think that all the candidates addressing the fact that there are things in our past we can just do again. We can use those tools to get us going and get us where we need to be.
Very, very good. Kathleen, tell us some of your primary impressions, things that you were glad came up, and some interesting ideas that you thought came across.
I'm really glad to hear about plans for infrastructure. We can't serve the people of Texas, and we can't win elections if we don't invest in infrastructure, and that means in the rural parts of Texas and the metropolitan areas of Texas, and making sure that we don't leave anybody out. We're a party for all Texans, and the Progressive Caucus and progressives in Texas can lead the way with infrastructure.
Absolutely. Haley. Hey, Haley. So I've been doing this to Haley the whole time we've been here. I've been going like this to Haley. Haley's been kind of the stagehand today. Some primary themes, primary ideas that you thought were interesting that came up today that you thought were important to the conversation.
Something I think that's going to be important moving forward. Just in general is empowering the grassroots campaign and putting the party back in the hands of the people and the state in the hands of the people. And I think all of the candidates up there said that very eloquently, and I think that's what we need to do moving forward.
Very, very cool. So, Reagan, we have a few guests, people who have gravitated over.
And let me introduce you to some of my friends I pulled in here.
Real quick, I want to mention real quick, this has been a terrific gathering. We had an overspill at either end of this building here at the LBJ Ranch. So thanks to everybody who came out. A lot of people drove in from East Texas, drove in for hours in buses and vans. Very, very impressive turnout. But go ahead and tell us who's here.
Sure. So we got Brian with Unified First. They're also one of the sponsors, and I'll hand it over to him to just let us know, what you liked, what you didn't like, anything that might have been missed.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks again to all of our friends at Progress Texas. First, I was really impressed with the diversity of the candidates. Diversity, not just in how we, may instinctively think of that, but their different life experiences, their different things that they want to bring to the position, and how they have thought about the role and what they want to do as chair. I was really impressed by that. Wasn't really quite expecting that. Also, just the quality of some of the responses and the time taken to answer the questions. I was really impressed by that. What was missed? Obviously with the new chair, there's a large focus on the future. I think perhaps maybe just a little bit more time dissecting the last cycle as opportunities to reflect on those lessons learned and how those will be applied moving forward. They could have spent a little bit more time doing that. But otherwise, right. I thought it was really well handled.
Right. There is kind of a limited, the format of it kind of limits a few things. We did go 2 whole hours without a whole lot of talk about what's coming at us from D.C. Not that the state party has a whole lot of direct control over that, but it is something that we have to combat. It's something I noticed was not super prominent in the conversation. Introducing.
Yes, hi. My name is Daniel Ayala, and I'm the president of the Texas Environmental Caucus. I think what I took from this event. Number one was the amount of hard work that the Progressive Caucus and Progress Texas put into this event. It is absolutely went off like gangbusters. I'm really excited at the crowd here. It was great turnout, and we had a lot of the SDEC members here as well, and I think that's one of the things that we were noticing, that while the room was full of a lot of folks who didn't have a vote but needed to hear this information, outside a lot of the SDEC members were talking to the other SDEC members about what are we hearing from the folks here. People were pulling me off to the side saying, what way are you leaning already, right? And these are hard conversations to have because even some of the candidates that have filed right now aren't in the room still, right? And some of them still have yet to show their faces. There's a lot of names that are being thrown around right now.
What's the process moving forward? I know there are other forums that are going to be happening. Do you know much about what's coming to get some of these other people on some microphones?
Yeah, so we have a good amount of TDP sanctioned forums that are split between all the individual, 5 of them actually. I know Houston is there, Dallas is there, Austin, and then I know that some of the Hispanic Caucus is also hosting some of their forums since a lot of South Texas was overlooked, unfortunately. So we've had a good amount of forums that are set on schedule leading up to the next SDEC meeting. But what needs to happen right now is a lot of these folks that initially showed interest and then have started to peter off, we're starting to get a finalized list once those get closer, so that way we can know who the true quote-unquote front runners are going to be.
And so I'm going to pass it over next to Brian, who joined us all the way from Texas State. Brian, can you give us just a little rundown of what you liked, what you didn't like, anything that might have been missed today that you wished we could have talked about?
Yeah, kind of like Sam. Said, I was glad to hear a lot of people were looking towards real change, starting from the bottom. Yeah. And, that's obviously something college kids are pretty frustrated with the way this last election came out, frustrated with kind of just the general state of the Democratic Party. I was really happy to hear that there were candidates looking towards real institutional change, specifically towards middle and working class Texans.
Very, very cool.
Awesome. Well, we're going to pass it over to Jessica Cohen, who I actually have we worked together, or rather we're in opposing campaigns, 5-7 years ago, but a fantastic human I know that has done a lot of work in Austin since I've left Austin. But can you give me a little rundown of what you liked at the forum? I called it a debate earlier, but the forum today, what you liked, what you didn't like, anything that might have been missed that you wish we talked about.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't call it a debate unless you're talking about debating with the moderator, which I thought was really interesting. Was really hoping for a little more substance from the entire thing. The questions were good. I don't know that the answers were the greatest, to be honest. There are definitely some folks who seem more familiar with the inner workings of the TDP and the relationships it's going to take to be a good chair. And personally, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about the gender identity issues that have been facing the Texas Democratic Party. I am the first trans woman elected to the SDEC in its history, and I would have liked to have heard the T word used just one time so that I know I'm adequately represented.
All right, awesome. So walking over here, master of ceremonies for the event, really. How could he not be with that hat? Clayton Tucker of the Texas Progressive Caucus. Great event, Clayton. Good job putting it together. We're glad to be a part of it. Tell us, let's go back to that first question. Give us your impressions of some of the primary themes that came up over the course of the conversation and what you found most interesting out of the whole thing.
Well, thank y'all for being here. Let me just start off. And the amount of work y'all have been doing is really great. So, I'm just still a little in shock from how many people showed up, and I saw how many folks were watching the live stream. That's incredible. That's beyond even my most optimistic.
A lot of people care about the direction of the party.
That is very true. A lot of people very much do care. I was very encouraged. I know something that's really important to a lot of folks on the SDEC is someone that can easily be reached, but also someone who's really going to put their back into it, who's really going to walk the walk. So just hearing a lot of the folks talk about the commitments they've done, the commitments they're going to do, I thought that was very good because whoever we get, if they could be the best person in the world, but they only put in 5 hours a week, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So hearing that the candidates are passionate and they are willing to work, to me, that was great.
Right. Kathleen, Carrie, pick that up and carry it. What do you expect to be the true experience and the real, demands and best practices of whoever ends up being the next TDB chair? What should they do differently, in your opinion?
It's a day, night, holiday, weekend job. You wake up in the morning thinking about the people of Texas and how to best serve them, and that means winning elections. So it's a 365 job with commitment, but it's also not a job that can be done by one person. It means bringing in great vice chairs and putting the work in with your county party chairs and your precinct chairs to support them, because you can't be everywhere in Texas. You got to give the people on the ground the tools that they need. I've been a precinct chair. I've been on the SDEC. It's hard work, and people need to feel respected and valued, and they'll stay and stick with you and do the work.
Very good. Reagan, what do you think of what should the next the next chair of the party, what's their marching orders? Like, what should they be thinking about? How should they be going about what they do?
I might be young, but I remember 15, 20 years ago an organization called Battleground Texas, and they might still be out there as well. But what I saw from that organization is it was Austin, it was DC money, and it was hiring people that looked like me, white young guys, and putting them in Hispanic communities that they didn't know the language, they didn't know the culture. They were scared to knock on doors and say hello to the Doberman in the backyard. But the thing is you have to go into these communities, be able to hire people that are already doing the hard work there. Imagine being able to pay true salaries to community organizers that are 20, 25 years old, and going back a year from a November election date and getting people block walking every single day. And I think that's what we have to get to. You have to empower people in the communities and be able to raise up and uplift their communities on their own.
Very good.
So I'm going to introduce one more person. We have actually a couple of votes here. My committee woman, SDEC member, Nicolette Ardette. Please let me know. I've been just doing the easy question here of what you like, what you didn't like, anything that was missed, and I'm sure Chris can quiz you a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Again, my name is Nicolette. I'm the CD23 committee person, so based out of Bexar County. Our counterpart is Wesley Lawrence. He's based in El Paso.
And it stretches all the way to El Paso.
All the way to El Paso. So we actually have ours is the largest district in all of Texas for CD23, so we have a really big expectation for all the counties from Bexar County to El Paso County. How do we show up for those Democrats? How do we make sure that we're honoring, hey, this is what I actually want to see in the next party chair? Because these counties have been neglected for God knows how many cycles. They continue to go from blue to purple to deep red to deeper red. They're begging for resources and they never get it. And again, we're two people that are really trying to do our best between the two distances. But what we saw today was a really stark announcement of, hey, Texas Dems are exactly wanting to see people fight for them. People fight for their vote. People fight that, hey, they need to be invested in. And at the end of the day, we know our communities are at risk if we're not making sure that we're getting the right Democrats elected into office. So they really have like the biggest shoulders to bear to make sure that this upcoming election, we make sure that all Democrats get elected up and down.
So to close up here, telegraph a message into the future for whoever wins this race. What do you expect out of them?
Ooh.
What's it going to be? How to do it and what you expect them to accomplish?
Honestly, at the end of the day, I want them to treat the Texas Democratic Party as a business, in the business of electing Democrats up and down the ticket, but also making sure that Democrats are well taken care of all throughout the state. I know for sure what I also want to see is how are they going to also pass the torch? How do they make sure that young people continue to be involved in this process and not be burned out in doing this? Because we need to teach this generation and next generations how to continue organizing for Democrats all throughout the state of Texas.
Right on. I thought that was going to close it, but we actually have more. Let's keep going.
We have one more CD. Can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Daphne Tenorio. I am the Hispanic Caucus member. I'm also an elected official from Hays County. And my three main goals are unification, communication, and fundraising. Those are the three most important things to me right now. If we can't unify, we're not going to be able to win.
Right.
If we can't communicate, we can't win. And if we can't fundraise, it's almost impossible.
Of the all the different themes that were talked about today, which one of them jumped out at you in a way that really you found interesting or important?
I will say that the most important thing that I heard today was inclusion of the rural, because I am in Hays County. We are rural. My family is from Terrell County, which is extremely rural. And the fact that we keep minimizing what we could get if we just invest in that area stood out to me extremely well. Additionally, we need to be more communicative to people to get them involved and to keep them more included, and they have to have a buy-in, and we're not making, our message isn't allowing people to buy in, so that verbiage and that marketing needs to be there as well.
Right on, very good.
Chris, I have a closing message for our listeners. If you're not a member of the SDEC, you're not voting in this race. So your SDEC representatives need to hear from you. I'm really on fire about the values-based messaging and retail politics that I heard about today. We're going to take our values-based messaging and take it into the Dairy Queens and talk to folks on the ground about our values and about economics, and it really is a winning message. So please make sure you identify your SDEC members. Tell them how you want to vote. They represent you.
Make sure and take the message into the Cracker Barrel as well.
Right on, Chris.
While you're messing with the Dairy Queen. So Kathleen and Reagan and Sam and Haley and Chris Mosier here, wrapping up from Johnson City. I think some of us are on our way back to Austin, and some of us are on our way maybe the other direction to Fredericksburg for a little happy hour fun.
And back to Dallas.
And back to Dallas as well. So thanks again to the Texas Progressive Caucus for being involved with us, or involving us with this. We really had a great time. Thanks to Unified for helping out. Reagan, anybody else we want to thank real quick?
I just want to thank all the staff here. Of course, Kathleen, Chris, Sam, and Haley. We also have some folks as well that couldn't make it, like Tatum, our advocacy associate as well. But, you know, it's really amazing to get to see all of these folks, whether it's every few weeks or every month or two, to be able to show up. Texas Progressives are truly the firebrand of the Democratic Party. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing where all these people, young folks like me, get to take this party in the future.
Right on, right on.
One more thank you to our donors. No matter what amount you're giving us on a monthly basis, it costs money to get here.
Sure.
All the equipment that broadcast out this candidate forum, that costs money.
Let me mention that we're in the Texas Hill Country where they really haven't quite discovered Wi-Fi yet, or a lot of places haven't, and this place definitely does not. There is no resident
We're
Wi-Fi
in the middle of an old, what I would say, kind of like a ranch house, a community center in a state park. You know,
right.
Yeah.
We're in the boonies. They're beautiful boonies, but still the largely Wi-Fi free boonies. And so yes, to Kathleen's point, dragging in modern infrastructure, we had to literally drag it in here with us. That does cost money. That money comes from all you nice folks who are regular monthly donors, donors really of any form or fashion. So we appreciate it very much.
Thanks all y'all.
All right, that's
Thanks,
it.
y'all.
We'll see you next time.